Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first edition of Connections on the Dying to Know podcast. Connections is going to be about people who've had connections to loved ones and friends who've passed, and whether it's dreams, signs, apparitions, audible voices. I would love to hear from people. And our first person is Katty, and I know it looks like Katty, but Katty, who has a connection with her husband, George, who's transitioned. And she says that it's strong, and she was willing to share her stories with you and me. And she gave the advice that one only needs to be open to the possibility. So welcome, Katty, and thank you for sharing your story with us. And I can't wait to hear what you have to tell everybody.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Diane, for asking me to be here today. And I'd love, being able to share some stories and signs that I've received from George, my loved one. And I do want to let everybody know that, I certainly believe that it helps others new to afterlife research to be able to read about someone else's experience. But there's nothing like experiencing it yourself. And like you said, one only needs to be open to the possibilities. To start out, my husband died suddenly in the late afternoon of July 15th, 2019, from a saddle pulmonary embolism. Although he had been living with chronic pain for several years from a major ladder accident that happened a few years prior, he was feeling really good that afternoon and that day, and we had planned to go on a bike ride after I got off work. Now, I don't and I won't go into any details about his last moments, but suffices to say that it was one of the most traumatic and heart-wrenching events a human being can witness, the death of your beloved. And especially for me, because it was so sudden, unexpected, and with no time to prepare oneself. And there was nothing that I, the first responder, nor EMT could do to save him, although we tried. Now, early into the next morning, exhausted from hours of crying my heart out, reliving the trauma, notifying family and friends, and of course, missing him, I readied for bed. As I walked across our bedroom floor, I felt a sudden burst of energy filling the room. Then George's apparition appeared on our bed, ever so briefly. Then, with another giant swoosh of energy, I could almost not just feel the energy, I could see the energy actually swooshing in and then swooshing out. But after a few moments, that energy kind of swooshed and left. And at first it startled the you know what out of me. Then after catching my breath, I kind of laughed out loud because I was startled and saying, "Honey, was that you? You sure know how to make an entrance." And I was both amazed and shocked at what just happened. But I knew in my heart that it was George and that he did appear to let me know that he was not only there with me and that he was okay. Now, another cool event happened about 8 days later after he transitioned. This was the day following his memorial service. We lived in the Florida Keys, and his best friend Mike and his wife Terry and I set out on their fishing boat late that afternoon. We took some of the memorial service flowers with us and planned to honor George by placing them in the water near a reef where we had fished so many times. Just at sunset, we had said a few words to George, toasted him, then set about to release the flowers. We started laughing as the current swiftly started taking the flowers away. But before we could even finish, Mike yelled out to me, "That bird almost landed on your head." Unaware, I looked back just to watch a seabird, a bird called a brown noddy, fly swiftly, encircling the boat at eye level about 3 complete times. Then it peered off to fly into the sunset. We were all grinning ear to ear, as none of us have ever experienced a seabird, or any bird for that matter, that exhibited that kind of behavior. And we all knew without a shadow of doubt that George's spirit had just buzzed us. There were many more signs over the next weeks, including on our anniversary day, receiving more than 10 bouquets of free roses and flowers unexpectedly from the flower lady. No doubt that George had a hand in that. To Feathers standing up straight with its quill on the ground after completing a home project that he had started, which I took as thanking me. He also played 5 songs in a row on XM radio in the car one day from his memorial playlist, and all in the right order. He sends all over body tingles, which I recognize now as hugs, every time I focused on him. He also flashes his favorite number, which happens to be my birthday. The first couple of times was during TV on 2 different football games at critical moments that actually changed the game. And then, of course, he's flashed that many more times after that. He also sent me on probably about a week or 2 before Valentine's Day, a Valentine's ad to my Facebook feed. It was for signs made from steel, a big red heart with the message, "I love Katie," which is, of course, is my name. And lastly, this past summer, while playing a bingo game virtually at work to celebrate a completed project, he changed one of my bingo card squares, which had read, "Great job," to "Love you," just as I hit bingo on that row. Since the bingo squares were static, the organizer that created the bingo cards was absolutely floored, as we all were that day. Now, fast forward to today, 17 months after George transitioned. We have been developing an amazing connection through telepathic communication, physical touches, and vibrations. He's also recently completed an EVP, which is an electronic voice phenomenon session, and he came through loud and clear with several messages for me. He also recently sent a trans image through a physical medium that I've been working with in Brazil, which was just amazing. Now, he appeared as he would appear at his age today versus what we all believe, which, they kind of transition back to that prime age when they cross into the afterlife.
Mhm.
But our bond is incredibly strong and increases by the day. And my clairsenses, like clairvoyance and clairaudience, and also his abilities continue to develop. And my message to others is that they can do this as well. We all have some clair abilities that we can tap into and develop.
Well, thank you, Katie. I really appreciate you sharing your stories about your connection to your husband. And I know it's healing to others, and I'm sure it's healing to you. It sounds like it is very, encouraging to you that he's still around and that you can connect with him, that you're not alone and separate. And I would like to invite others who are listening to Katie's story to contact me at hungarianaquarian@gmail.com if you'd like to also tell your story or write your story to me, and I will read it on the podcast. So thanks again, Katie, for being the first one to share your story for this series of connections.
Well, thanks so much, Diane. And I really appreciate you asking me to be here today.
Okay, no problem.